I've been rolling my pant cuffs for something like 5 years now, so I think that's probably the most bisexual behavior I have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I honestly do that just to come off as bisexual. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
bisexual signaling.
Hello, my bis and allies, and welcome to Bisexual Behavior, a podcast where I just talk about a bunch of gay stuff. I'm your host, Talia Cass, and today we've got a very bisexual episode for you. I talked to the person who designed our logo, Matthew Klaus, and we talk about pretty much the gayest stuff possible. We talk about porn, we talk about relationships, we talk about whether or not we're bisexual enough, which is something that I think everyone has wondered at some point, whether or not they're queer enough, whether they fit into the community, based on who they're dating or who they're attracted to. So this is a really great episode. I'm so excited that you're listening, and without further ado, here's Matt.
All right. Well, Matt, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining Bisexual
Yeah.
Behavior. Yay.
Thanks
Um,
for having me.
Oh my God, of course. So for those of you who are listening, Matt is actually the designer of our logo. So Matt and I have been friends for not super long, but when I learned that you're bisexual, I was like, oh, fuck, I've got to talk to him about it. So let's talk about being gay together.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just start with some light introductions here. You can follow my format. So my name is Talia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am an anxious bisexual, and I'm also cis and white. All right, so what about you, Matt?
Okay, so I prefer he, him, his. I'm also an anxious bisexual, I suppose. And what was the last one? I'm cis dude.
All right, so
Yeah.
so we're gonna have an awesome topic today. One thing that I feel like a lot of bisexual people relate to is not feeling like you're bisexual enough or that you're queer enough. And for me, I feel like I kind of came out late in life, but I mean, not as late as a lot of people, but I came out in my mid to late 20s. And it's so funny because a lot of my friends knew that I was bisexual before I fully was like, I'm out, I'm fully bisexual and proud of it, because I just didn't feel like I was queer enough because I dated men for a good portion of my life. So I think this is a really important topic for, a lot of people can relate to it. And, before we get started, I do have to ask you, Matt, what's the most bisexual thing about you?
I've been rolling my pant cuffs for something like 5 years now, so I think that's probably the most bisexual behavior I have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I honestly do that just to come off as bisexual. Um, so
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
bisexual signaling.
And I'm pretty sure that when we were like talking about the podcast logo, you were saying, "Oh, are you rolling your cuffs?" That's
Yeah,
bisexual.
yeah.
Had to check really quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I want to learn more about, why you don't think you're bisexual enough. And I think a lot of that starts, maybe when you're first realizing and you first come out. So do you feel like you have like a bisexual awakening or like a moment where
Um,
you like fully admit it to yourself?
yeah, so I think my story is a little similar to yours in some regards, because like I didn't really like think of myself as bisexual until like my later 20s, like very recently, I guess, within the last couple of years. It was never like really like oh, this was the moment or whatever. It was like more of like a gradual thing, but I do remember when I was a kid, the first like, oh, I'm not totally straight thought I had, I guess.
Oh, sure.
um oh boy. Okay, so I think it was like one day we're in the lunchroom or whatever, and I was talking to one of my friends, a girl, and when you're in the early 2000s and a bunch of shitty teenagers, everybody makes like gay jokes and stuff like that. um and I don't remember really the whole context. I just remember the one thing she said to me was sweaty strapping men or something to me. And the picture I got in my head, I was like, oh, huh, that's kind of hot. I think that night I went and looked up some gay porn, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not totally straight.
That's so funny. I feel like a lot of us can
Yeah.
relate to that, where we have like childhood moments where we like looked up porn. I know that I like when I first discovered porn, I did not want to see men at all. I was like titties. So how did that kind of progress as you got older?
I think I grappled with that for a long time and really didn't I still didn't really like see myself or really like accept that of myself, I guess, just because of the environment I grew up in. I still didn't like feel comfortable being myself, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of like tried to avoid those feelings for a long time, I think. When I started college, I really explored my sexuality a lot more. Yeah, it's hard to say, I guess, because it's all like so gradual, I suppose, like learning to like accept myself more and just exploring my sexuality, but just in terms of like pornography, I guess, was like a way for me to like figure out what sort of things that I actually liked and things like that, and eventually like warm up to the idea. Well, like, I mean, I think probably celebrities and stuff sort of help with that too, just like learning to be like, oh, it's okay to be bisexual and everything too, because I didn't really have like any bisexual friends to like talk to. I had like a gay friend. There was no spectrum in my life. I had never been
Yeah.
like exposed to that until like really college, I guess.
Gotcha. So you said that you mainly were like focused on porn and like kind of understanding yourself through that way, which same. And for me, it was also the
Yeah.
L word and like watching Blue is the Warmest Color. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I know of it. I haven't watched it though.
and it's honestly like I'm a little ashamed because I've learned since then that like the sex scene that was filmed, there's legitimately like a 10-minute sex scene. And when I
Really?
honestly, yes. And when I was in college, I rewatched it so many times and I like looked up the sex scene on Pornhub to like watch it because I loved it so much, and didn't really like sit with me that that's like pretty gay to do. But and also that since then it's come out that those sex scenes were pretty unethically filmed, and so obviously that's not something I watch now, but I didn't know back then, and a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
But when did you like fully accept yourself being bisexual and like feel comfortable calling yourself bisexual?
So I don't think until like maybe a year or two ago that I would have really called myself bisexual, I guess. And it's definitely like even more within like the last 8 months or so that I think I like am directly open about my sexuality to my friends and stuff, which I'm sure they knew before, now and everything like that. But like it took that long for me to like actually be like say it out loud casually to like my friends and stuff like that, and like feel comfortable about it.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've gotten any like backlash from when you've been more open about it? Like, do you feel like your friends have been difficult, or have they been understanding?
I think they've all been pretty understanding. I think I'm also very choosy with my friendships too, so I don't really like have I'm not gonna come out and like just say that to like somebody that I don't feel comfortable with. But at the same time, I guess I have a lot of friends that I've been friends with for a long time, so I guess they're probably good friends.
Good. And I think that's
I don't have anybody who is like super uncomfortable with that.
It's a good way to weed out friends too, for sure. Are you like out to your family?
Sure, my sisters know to some degree, but family is like another matter entirely.
Do you feel comfortable talking about it, or
I not with my parents? No.
Gotcha.
Not that I think not for like the obvious reason. I don't think that they would be like, oh my god, you're bisexual and disown me or something, because I don't think they would do that. But the main reason is because I think my parents would react an entirely different way that would make me be annoyed or uncomfortable, you know, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I think they would yeah, I don't think they would disown me. I don't think they would dislike me at all, but I think they would just like act different around me, and then also like try to say dumb stuff to me to try to cater to me or something like that. And so that's more of like what I'm afraid of, because I just like don't want that interaction with my parents.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And sometimes I feel like it's makes more sense to come out to a parent when you're dating someone of the same sex. But
Yeah.
so I grappled with that a little bit when I came out to my parents, because I told my mom I was in a relationship with a guy at the time, and it was when I really like fully was like, I'm bisexual and like I can't stop thinking about women. And it was really hard in that relationship, and he was really, really good about it, but it just, at the end of the day, I just needed to kind of figure that out. And when I told my mom, she was like, oh, you've got to tell your dad. And I felt like it was weird at the time, because it's like almost telling someone about your sexual preference and not like who you are as a person. And now I understand fully what, like, being bisexual is a part of who I am. And and that is very different than, you know, my sexual preferences. It doesn't mean anything in that way. So that's something, you know, telling parents, it feels like an awkward conversation, because I think like they immediately think of it as like a sexual thing, because bisexuals
because
are
it's like I just want them to like, you know, treat me the same way. I don't want them to like act or think differently just because like they have this new knowledge or whatever.
Yeah. And it's, you know, with the older generation, they still see the same thing, like stereotypes about bisexuals, like we're slutty
Right.
or we like threesomes. And like, you know, even if those things could be totally true,
Oh, I
like,
am a little slutty at least. So
oh, I mean, come on. Yeah. Like we're all slutty bisexuals. Let's be real here. Totally own that stereotype. But yeah, I think it makes it a little bit harder to have that conversation with other people because of that, you know, all that comes with the word bisexual. How do you feel like being bisexual has affected your dating life? Are you open with people that you've dated that you're bisexual?
Yeah, and I think it's actually been, I mean, my dating life sucks, but I think it's been it's been positive for me, I think, because it you know, I have a lot of social anxiety, and I think it just helps to like be that much more comfortable and authentic with myself when I'm like, you know, on a first date or something.
Yeah, definitely. Are you like so when you like start dating people or looking for people to date, are you trying to find people who identify as queer, or just are you still dating straight people and having that conversation? Basically, I'm just trying to learn everything about your dating life, Matt. Just give me all the deets.
So yeah, that brings up like another interesting point that I just learned about myself a couple days ago, and I'm trying to grapple with too, which is so there's this bisexual celebrity who I follow, Anna Kana, and so she came out with a video about like, so my dating life just, I don't know, it kind of sucks, but like one of the things, because I just, you know, go on dating apps or whatever, because like full-time working at home, and a lot of my hobbies involve me just not needing to leave the house at all. So I don't really like typically get out and meet people unless I'm like hanging out with my roommates out at a bar or something.
Yeah, and even then it's like so hard to meet someone at a bar.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Bars aren't even good places to meet people. So anyway, looping back to, I'm scattered. Looping back to the Anna Kana thing. So she had this video about like nice guys or whatever, and you know, I would never have like thought of myself as a nice guy or anything like that, because of like that stereotype that like, you know, nice guys or whatever just like going out trying to like get expectations of sex and stuff like that, for doing like, you know, the baseline of like human decency, which is like stupid, and that's not like a thing I do. But like the thing that she brought up is like that spectrum of like related behavior, which I realized I strongly identified with. I'm constantly like on these dating apps and stuff, just trying to get dates and just go out with whoever, and like being way too open-minded, and I'm like never picky enough about anything. And I end up just going, like, I have terrible dates all the time because I literally just go on a date with like anybody and ignore all the red flags and
Oh
things.
no.
And I don't go into any of this with like a preference of like, oh, this is this sort of person I'm looking for, you know?
Yeah. Wait, so
And then it
tell
ends
me.
up being this terrible experience because I'm not going into a date looking for like a partner who I would, you know, be comfortable or have a good time with. I'm just going into it looking for some sort of validation, you know?
That's fair. And
It's
I
like,
feel like that's
yeah.
part of that process is also learning about what you want in a relationship. Like, I feel like it's hard for people to know
Mhm.
until they go through those really bad dates or go through phases where they're literally just meeting people. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's all a part of the dating process. But I am
Yeah.
dying to know one of your bad date stories.
Oh no. All right. I think this is probably up there with some of the worst dates I've had.
Oh my God.
So this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was living in Connecticut and I met this girl on Tinder. And very, you know, quickly rushed through it, made plans for a first date. Hadn't really learned much about her at all or anything like that. There's this awesome Venezuelan restaurant like up the street, like a block away from where I lived at the time. Just had like the best smoothies ever. Anyway, so we go there for like a Sunday brunch, and you know, obviously I show up on time, and so she texts me like something like 15 minutes late, and she's like, it was sort of like a very different personality sounding from like how we had been texting before, and it was like, so it sounded kind of like angry, I guess, angry text or whatever. She's like, oh my god, I can't, complaining she can't find parking or whatever. And I'm looking up because I'm seated out, this is in the summer, seated outside out front, and I'm looking up and down the street and there's like plenty of parking spots, and so I'm like, okay.
Oh
um
God.
and so eventually she finds parking, she walks around, and so as she's like walking up the sidewalk and I see her, she's just like, she has sunglasses on and it looks like she's like pouting and kind of like stomping her feet, and I'm like, what? And so this, one of the quirks of this Venezuelan restaurant is like the outside seating is also like sand, right? So you like
Oh
walk through the
wow.
sand, that's where all the tables and chairs are seated. And she's like literally just like dragging her feet through the sand. And I'm like, oh God, this is so weird. And I wave to her, she comes and sits down, doesn't smile even once, and is just pouting the whole time, sunglasses on, I can't even see her eyes or anything. And she just sits down and doesn't say anything to me. And then I like, you know, sort of introduce myself, and she's just like very like straightforward to the point and like definitely sounds pretty angry. And then we proceed for like, you know, we like order drinks, and it proceeds for like the next like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, where you know, I'm pretty introverted, but for some reason I'm like leading all of the questions and conversations and things like that, and I'm trying to find like some sort of conversation topic, but like everything she's just giving me like 5-word answers for, like 1 sentence answers for everything, and is not asking me anything about myself at all or whatever. And it's like entirely one-sided, and it's like so weird how like angry she seemed. And then eventually, so we're just like waiting for them to come back with our drinks, and there was just like a long silence because I just like ran out of like things to ask because I've just been like talking this whole time, and I'm like, oh God. And I'm hoping she would like ask me about anything. I swear to God, like a full 2 minutes of like awkward silence passes, and then she looks up, still mind you with her sunglasses on, so I've never like, I haven't even like, it's hard to have a conversation with somebody who you can't even like see their eyes too, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point because you like want to
Yeah,
make eye contact and like read their full facial expression. But
right,
geez.
right. So this is like 2 full minutes of like awkward silence after I've just been like talking most of this whole time, trying to find a way to have a conversation with her. And she like looks up from her menu, and in the middle of like everybody else having their Sunday brunch, just starts yelling at me about how
What?
I need to keep talking and just like starts popping off about that. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh my,
Yeah,
but she
I
didn't
was
ask
like
you
beside
anything about
myself. I
you.
was like, I felt so awkward. I'm like, what is happening right now? She was like literally angry at me. And so like I started having a panic attack at this point, and I like excused myself to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. I've never had this happen to me before.
Yeah, that's
And
odd.
I'm like go to the bathroom. I'm like texting some of my friends for advice. So like, oh my god, what do I do? But of course, just like nobody's gonna respond super quick on a Sunday morning like that or whatever. So eventually, I'm just like, okay, I've just gotta leave. And so luckily, like the register and everything were inside, like away from the front area outside. And so I was talking to the waitresses, and they didn't even make me pay for my drink. I like told them what happened, and they're like, oh no, we understand or whatever. And so they were super nice about it. Here's the other kicker is that it's in like the on the middle of the street that it was on, and there's no like back entrance, there's no like side entrances or whatever. There's just the front entrance and exit to the building, which is also where the outdoor seating is. So I
Okay.
have to walk past her on my way out, and also because I walked.
Oh God.
So I just very quickly, very awkwardly kind of like walk kind of up to her, and I just like make up some excuse. I'm like, oh, my stomach's not feeling good, I'm gonna go home. And then I immediately like I just took off.
So you never found out
And
why she was so angry?
yeah, I don't know. And I get halfway down the block. It doesn't end yet.
Oh God.
I
Okay.
hear flip-flops like running behind me, and I turn around, and she is literally like chasing me down the block.
What?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Well, the first red flag, aside from all of it, is the fact that she's wearing flip-flops.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I can't remember if she's wearing socks at all, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh my God.
Although maybe I would have given her more kudos for that at this point. But
Yeah, that
no.
becomes like a power move at that point. If you choose to wear
Yeah.
socks with flip-flops, then you know what you're doing. You know.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so she starts trying to apologize for everything, and she's like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? And stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm like so over it at this point. I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to you. And so she's just like trying to apologize and everything, and I'm just like, no, please, just just like this, I'm like, please just leave me alone.
You freaking yell at me. You
Yeah.
expect me to give you another chance?
Oh god. And she legit continues on apologizing or whatever, and I'm like, okay. And she tries to invite me over to her house.
Oh my God, the audacity.
Like, I was just like, no. What makes you think that at this point
she like
that
get off
was
on yelling at
a good
you?
idea?
Jesus. So did you ever like talk to her after that, or did you just kind of like?
Luckily she didn't continue following me because I had, you know, to walk the rest of the way home.
Right.
And she like texted me and continued to try to get me to like go to her house or something and continue to apologize, and so I just, you know, I blocked her. And that was
That's
that.
probably a good call. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that awful date. Wow.
Yeah, that was weird. That was probably, yeah.
Oh
Ooh.
man. Have you ever like told a girl that you were talking to that you're bi? Do you have it on your dating profile?
I changed my dating profiles to say that I'm bisexual now, and so that hasn't like come up, I think.
That's good.
Maybe when I was sexting one girl, we talked about like she was interested in threesomes or whatever, so we just had a conversation about that. But you know, that's
Classic. It comes
It's
from men and
classic,
women,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
pressure for a threesome.
yeah.
Comes from all angles.
Right. But other than that, the only other time it's ever come up is like, I think I had a Tinder match at some point, and she was just like asking me about it, and like weird, but I guess probably curious way. But I think she was just like a straight girl who
Gotcha.
was, yeah.
Yeah, I read like horror stories. So I don't know if you're a Redditor, but I'm always on the bisexual subreddit, and there's like men who talk about how they came out to their
Okay.
wives, and that they'll usually like react where they feel insecure, or they like, there was one that I was reading where the guy was saying that his wife was like, you can never talk about it again, it makes me less attracted to you, and all these things. And I'm
What
so
the
glad to hear that you
fuck?
haven't had that experience. I've also like, so I mainly have used dating apps to like date women, because I find that it's very hard to meet women as like a newly out queer femme person. And there's been like a lot of questions from like lesbians specifically, being like, when's the last time you fucked a dude? You know, like, what does it mean for you to be bisexual? Are you like talking to other men and all this stuff? And it's like,
Yeah.
I can just like, I get a lot of insecurity from people because they don't understand that like I could just be
Just
focused on
because
one
you're
person.
attracted to both people doesn't mean that, like, you know, you're promiscuous and unreliable in a monogamous relationship.
Exactly. And you know, there's a mix between people who are polyamorous and monogamous, but that like has nothing to do with your, you know, sexuality. So
Right.
very different thing. But what's like, what makes you feel like you're not bisexual enough specifically?
So because I don't try to date men, I guess.
I understand that.
I'm yeah, so I feel sexually attracted to, you know, men to some degree, and mostly am like turned on by, you know, like dick rather than like a man's body or whatever, because you know, like man's body, you know, a hunky dude, I'm like, you know, that's pretty good. But then like, you know, a hot girl or whatever, I'm like, that's that's my shit right there. And then,
Gotcha.
you know, I see a penis and I'm like, that's pretty hot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's such a big difference between like, so you hear about biromantic, or like people who are sexually you know, bisexual, but they may be like only romantically attracted to one gender.
Right.
Or,
So
you know,
I have hooked up with a dude a couple times.
same dude,
And I
different
just
dude?
never really like, yeah, I've like give it some thought. I've tried considering like romantic relationships with guys, but it just never really like felt fulfilling to me at all for whatever reason. Like it's just like a sexual attraction, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one big misconception is that like bisexuality is only being attracted to like men and women, and that it's very binary, but that's like so false. And that it's like just being about being attracted to more than one gender or multiple genders, because it's also very weird to say that there's only two genders and then make like blame bisexuality on being not accepting of all genders or non-binary people. But so yeah, I'm glad that, you know, you shared that, because I think a lot of people feel the same way. So what is one thing that like, so I think for me, it's important to feel, you know, visible as a bisexual. And even if, you know, I were in a relationship with a man, that I would still want to be considered bisexual and still feel queer. Like, what do you feel like is one way that you can still be visible or still be part of a queer community, even if you were dating a woman?
I honestly have no idea.
We're all trying to figure that out. It's porn. The answer is porn.
The answer is porn. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a pretty, you know, easy answer, right? Because like I'm not I'm not personally like polyamorous or anything like that. Like I'm definitely very I'm a very hopeless romantic, you know, looking for my one and only one day somehow.
Aww, so cute.
But you know, I suppose for many for people, you know, I'm sure polyamory or like open relationships and stuff like that, or just like experimenting, and you know, it doesn't even have to be all about sex, I suppose, you know, either.
Yeah, it's about that identity. And that's where I feel like having a queer community is so important. But I think sometimes bisexual people feel left out, which is why I started this podcast. But do you feel like you have a solid queer community around you? I know that you mentioned that you don't really have a lot of bisexual friends, at least, but do you feel like you at least have a community that you can go to when you're feeling, not visible enough?
Right. Yeah, I guess I would say no. I guess it's sweet. I do have so I do have like one bisexual friend at least that I can like talk to about stuff like that too. But I suppose I I don't know. I have just never really like felt like I've had a community around that too.
And I feel like community could be more than just like your actual physical friendships. It could be literally like relationships online, having Reddit that you can post to when you have questions. I think that that's all community, and that's something that I've learned over the years as well. But yeah, I think that's something that like I struggle with. A lot of people struggle with, is finding that queer community. So so it's nice to meet other bisexual people. So when I heard you're bisexual, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, okay, you're another bisexual friend.
Yes,
I have that stuff too.
And one thing I noticed when I came out, a lot of my friends were like, either they said like, oh, I like feel like I'm a little bisexual, or like, oh, I fingered my friend once. And I'm like, oh, sweet. That's great.
Nice.
Yeah. So I feel like once one person is more vocal about it, more bisexual people will come to fruition, because I think a lot of people like hide
they
it,
feel
or
like more comfortable the more, open other people are around them.
Exactly. Yeah. For sure. All right, so we're gonna kind of change up the questions a little bit, and I did want to kind of end on more asking questions that like are commonly asked questions that I see people ask all the time, whether it's someone who doesn't know if they're bisexual, or it could be like a straight person asking a simple question. But I have a couple questions for you. So the first one: what would you tell someone who thinks they're bisexual but is unsure?
Ooh. Just go on Pornhub, look up, try and find what if anything makes you feel a certain way.
I would say
think about how you would feel dating oh my god, what's his name? That really hot dude, celebrity. Oh my god.
I mean, there's many of them.
So vague. Hold on, wait. I think I have to Google this now. It's driving me nuts.
Oh my god, Google it.
Yeah. For some reason the only movie I can think of that he was in was this horrible campy horror movie about art.
Oh gosh, I know nothing about horror movies because I'm a little baby and I can't handle it. So
yeah. Oh, here we go. Velvet Buzzsaw, horrible movie. Jake Gyllenhaal. There we go.
Oh no! Listen. You are talking to a Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about All Too Well and like her dating him and how that whole song is about him?
I didn't know she dated him though.
Yeah. Also, I feel like there's rumors that he's like a little closeted.
You think so? Probably.
Probably. I mean, he gives a bi vibe off, but he.
I should have said Savage Gasp, the musician, is way hotter, and he's very openly bisexual. So,
okay, that's the move. Yeah, fuck Jake Gyllenhaal. Sorry, as a Swiftie, I have to argue that one.
Yeah.
My bad. That's how you got to know me too. I was introduced as a Swiftie, even though I'm like a newer Swiftie. Anyways, back to the main question of what would you tell someone who's unsure? My answer for that is that you're definitely gay if you're questioning it. I mean, if you are like Googling, am I bisexual? You're fucking gay. That's just you're bi.
Well, maybe on the other side of that, maybe you're just having an identity crisis, maybe you have too many queer friends and it's their queerness is converting you, totally a real thing.
As in like, you're bisexual.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Whispers in your ear while you're sleeping. You like both.
Even if
dicks and vaginas.
No, and at the end of the day, people can like totally identify as they want. Like if you feel like you are like on the spectrum where you like, you know, one gender like significantly more, but you still like really like, you know, sexually attracted to like a certain part of the other gender or a different gender, then like, yes, like that's still considered bisexuality. But if you choose to say you're straight, then like, all right, I guess you're straight.
Yeah.
But don't be in denial about it. And
Right,
also
right.
don't lead queer people on, please. Please don't do that. You know, we've all had crushes on a straight girl before, or in your case, a straight man, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So what's one thing you would tell someone who is in a straight seeming relationship and they just came out to their partner and that partner is not supportive? What would you say to that person?
Oh God. I mean, maybe that if that person is like, so I feel like that's definitely not a like them problem. That's like their partner's problem, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
if their partner has that sort of insecurity or like can't make an effort to understand you or can't come to an understanding with you or whatever, like maybe they're just not the right partner for you.
Yes,
as hard of a
yes.
pill that can be to swallow, because I'm like not, you know, I'm not gonna make any wow, I'm so brain dead right now. Not gonna pretend that that's like an easy thing to just be like, oh, you're not the right person for me anymore, you know. It's like not an easy thing to get over. But
yeah, no, it's very complicated. And I think that becomes the other person's problem if they can't be accepting. Like you should feel comfortable to be yourself in a relationship no matter what. And if that person isn't
right.
like researching it and helping you feel more visible as a bisexual or like feel like you can't be yourself, then like at the end of the day, that probably isn't the right person for you. But I know that it's complicated. You could be with someone for 10 years or married and you're just realizing this, and then this becomes a big problem. And in that case, maybe couples counseling. But I'm no expert.
Right.
I've just been kind of in that situation before, not fully, but yeah. So
yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
Oh my
Talia.
God, of course. Is there anything that you want to plug? I know that you're an awesome graphic designer. Is there a way that somebody can contact
hire
you for
me
work?
for all your music related projects. I'm huge on it. I'd love to make your album art.
Ooh, okay.
That's it. Yep. Thanks.
Okay. Where so what's your like Instagram? We can always share in the show
you can
notes.
find me at Mist Carver on Instagram, where I post a lot of just like personal projects. And you can also find links to my website and things through that way too.
Cool.
It's probably the easiest way to get in contact with me.
Yeah. Also you're looking for love too, right?
Yeah.
Are your DMs open?
My DMs are definitely open if you want to be my one true love, you know.
So what do you have, like a specific type of person you're looking for? Anything that like
absolutely dommy mommy, hands down, spit in my mouth. No.
Hell yeah.
Man, I don't know. I definitely am looking for more of like a give and take. I'm sick of these horrible Tinder dates I go on where everyone is either a dom or a sub and there's no in between. I'm sick of that shit. I'm a switch,
bisexual
you know, and I want a relationship that's a mutual understanding.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, well, you
and
heard
someone
it first.
who texts me back within, 8 to 12 business hours maximum. You can't don't leave me unread for 5 days.
Oh yeah, then that's like that person just isn't interested at that point.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, y'all heard it first from Matt, so feel free to DM him if you're interested. And great, thank you again.
Yep. All right, take care.
Okay.
Thank you again to Matt for joining us. What a great discussion. I don't think I've talked about porn that much in one sitting in a very long time, so I'm glad that we experienced that together. Please follow him on Instagram, hire him for your design needs, and if you want to slide into his DMs, go for it. If you want to support the podcast, give us a follow on Instagram at Bisexual Behavior, and please subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Any types of ratings or reviews is also super helpful. I love hearing your feedback. And also it really helps to get us to be more visible. We need that bisexual visibility. So if you want to further the bisexual agenda, please subscribe, rate, and review us. I hope that you're having a great day and take care. Okay, bye.